I went back and forth on this a few times. It's not really clear. I know some, lots of people have a very strong opinion one way or another. Most people think PX will, dominate, and at least, I guess a reasonable take would be PHEX will have a premium on the HEX. That's probably the most common scenario that I've heard discussed that sounds reasonable, but the two together will add up to be greater than the one before the fork. So, for example, you could have 10 cent PHEX and 8 cent EHEX, 30 cent PHEX and 25 cent EHEX, stuff like that. And it kind of just like the market sort of set that ratio for things. So that one sounds reasonable to me, just because if you think about, the founder of the network, people, if you're trying to bet which one will last longer, you're probably going to go with the one the founder has bet everything on to make the network. Mm-hmm. So in that case, I would say PulseChain, but I would say that there's probably a lot of people that have HEX on Ethereum that don't even know about PulseChain. They don't know what's going on. They probably don't care. They may have staked for 5, 10, 15 years. They're not even aware of what's going on. And they're not going to be emergency in staking. They're not going to be, doing stuff like that, like just based on their profile. So I think there'll definitely be, I definitely see there being a market, but I think the most reasonable take is there'll be a discount on the HEX, but they'll both be, I could see them both being strong pairs. Definitely, neither one is dying. Like that's, there's no future where I see cheap HEX on either of those chains, as Richard alluded to previously.
I mean, if we go back to the ethos of why PulseChain was created, it was created for hexagons because Ethereum was getting too expensive. I mean, that's an understatement. It was crazy, especially in 2021. You're looking at sometimes $500 to unstake. So, like you said, the founders gone all in on a new layer one. It would be silly to think that would be the one that doesn't perform well. That being said, there's the narrative that there's a lot of obviously big whales, HEX whales on Ethereum. They don't want to see it die. Will that become just the HEX whale playground? Time will tell. But like you said, I agree with you. I think there'll be disparities going back and forth between the two, but I doubt either one will become a token that you don't want to hold at some point.
I think maybe a good way to look at this too is, I think on PulseChain, HEX will have more volume. I think it'll be more traded, and back to the whale narrative too. That'll be hey, there's a bunch of old stakes on there. People aren't touching them. Maybe again, people may not even know about PulseChain. They just kind of especially if we have any of them institutional people in that their time horizons, they don't care about the PulseChain stuff. I mean, they'd be excited about it if they heard about it, but they're not going to be like moving all their stuff over. I wouldn't think so. I think, I could see PulseChain HEX being the one that's traded, the one that has a lot of volume and active new stuff on it. And then EHEX being the one that's sort of got a lot of the whales, got a lot of the bigger wallets, got a lot of the huge stakes and stuff like that on it. And I think that's a perfectly fine way to coexist. Ethereum has first mover advantage. And I think it's Richard did everything he possibly can to get as many people as possible to get involved on HEX on Ethereum. And PulseChain is just going to take some time for it to kind of catch up to the whale game and catch up to other stuff going on, because now the splitting and buying pressure is real. Like on Ethereum, we didn't have liquid ones, we didn't have Power City, we didn't have, we got fiat, I guess now, but we didn't have these 100+ projects launching on it and taking a lot of the economic energy, for better or for worse, depending on the product and stuff. You can argue on that. We didn't have that on Ethereum for HEX and stuff too. So we have a bridge. Yeah, all of that value will come over. There'll be people using that to do stuff too. But it's just, I think it'll be like two different games, and I don't think I think they both survive.